This is the Financial Coconut Podcast, Singapore's first personal finance podcast network. My name is Rakesh, and together with Anthony, we discover worthy financial news and derive insights for all you coconuts. We are part-time investors with an intense full-time career. If we can do it, you can too. So join us every Thursday for TFC Weekly Market Updates. Hey coconuts, welcome to another weekly Thursday Market Updates where we scour the net to find worthy financial news for you. This week, 3 stories, maybe 2 stories and 1 news, as we will. So we're going to start off with CrowdStrike earnings. Right, they've had some decent numbers coming through. As Anthony says, still lots of cash. Second story, Nvidia earnings. We touched on it very, very slightly last week, but we wanted to bring down the numbers and a little bit of competition for you. And last but not least, the Apple launches a new mixed reality headset. We're here to break that down, really see if there's anything to be worried about, or it really is a non-event. So stay tuned for that. We can't wait for you to watch this one and listen to this one. Let's get to it. Hey coconuts, welcome back to another weekly episode with me, Rakesh.
And Anthony, it's the first week of June. All right, we're nearly halfway to the year.
Yes. It's just the two of us today, coconuts.
So yeah, but please keep listening. Thank you very much. Otherwise, I'll be very upset.
Yeah, I think we both will be. You've heard us over and over again. Hopefully, I think I had a friend that said I listened to you sleep. I was like, oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Can you put on repeat one so that I just get my listener count up?
Yes. I was like, wow, thank you. Hopefully I'm at least I'm adding value to your life. So really that's what I'm looking forward to. That's what we are looking forward to.
At a high enough level, right?
Yes. But for you coconuts actually listening to us on the train or anywhere else, thanks again. And as usual, we have 3 topics. This week, we're going to cover CrowdStrike. We're going to touch on Nvidia as well. We touched a little bit last week, actually, but we're just going to go into the numbers this time. And last but not least, I think it was just a couple of days ago, Apple launched a new mixed reality headset. And boy, oh boy, are we going to talk about that.
Tim Cook is finally doing something. Besides
wow,
getting a better supply chain and trying to move Apple out of China.
Transitioning, finally moving from COO to CEO, right? In actual invention.
We'll see.
Now to see whether the invention actually works and all.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll save that for the end. Anthony, take us through CrowdStrike.
Yeah, CrowdStrike. I think it's one of those companies that, well, I like. So we end up covering their earnings every quarter, which is fantastic. Just because it helps me on research process and all that. But I mean, I'm doing this anyway, might as well, right? But yeah, I mean, CrowdStrike, what can we say? I thought the price action was really interesting. So when they first announced the earnings, I think that on some headline figures, it was a miss. And so the algo started selling off and, there was a bit of reflexivity and they actually went down 10%, after hours. I was like, this is great. Another 10% more and maybe I can start buying. Then when they actually opened it, it recovered most of that 10%. I was a bit pissed off. I was like, come on, and we can talk a bit about valuation later, but I was like, damn, this is a waste. Nearly a buying opportunity, right? But yeah, the numbers themselves, I think they did it really well. So they beat on most estimates, right? Revenue was up 42% year on year. EPS was
wow. Okay.
Yeah, still up 42%, right? And at 2 billion ARR or more than 2 billion ARR now. So fantastic. EPS also beat expectations. They are still not really profitable on a GAAP basis because of stock-based comp, but they're getting there. And they're spinning off free cash flow. Their free cash flow margin is like 30% and it's more than stock-based comp, right? So there is real cash flow in this company. They are really looking at a lot less dilution. So the target is to dilute less than 2% this year. And they are well on track for that. So,
So they're reducing the stock-based comp as the years go on.
Yes.
Or
I think
what's happening there?
partially they are reducing and partially they are just buying back shares. Right. So they have too much. So they are recognizing stock-based comp as, a cash expense. I think that's pretty much about it.
Got it.
Still strong company, free cash flowing. Still a lot of cash. I think they have like 2.9 billion in cash and cash equivalents. Debt is like 700 million. So net cash position is great, right? So that's current. So that's current performance. Expectations wise, I think they raised their revenue guide again. So I think last quarter they set out like a 33% revenue growth for the year. They said, we're probably going to hit about 35%. So, they increase their targets for themselves. So hopefully they do another beat in a few months. And I think, I don't quite know why the algos sold off. Like everything looks really positive. At least not, okay, it's not positive, but it's not negative, right? They are not missing anything. They are not adjusting for anything. It all seems quite legit and performing as a company should.
I guess one question I have for you, Anthony, on this is, I mean, CrowdStrike is the cybersecurity, so on and so forth, but they have quite a lot of AI or machine learning going on in their platforms, in their softwares, right? I mean, it has been for quite a while. Do you think has OpenAI, has Microsoft's add into this AI or push towards this AI ML field, taking away some sort of market share from CrowdStrike? What are your thoughts there? Because for me, looking at it, now there's massive hype on AI, there's massive hype on ML. Okay, honestly, there's massive hype on ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
How do you see this playing out with its competitors?
Yeah,
Microsoft, for example.
I mean, to me, the hype around ChatGPT and Microsoft and all that is really a hype around LLMs, right? I mean, AI, ML, they have been around for a decade plus.
Donkey years, yeah, exactly.
It's not a new concept, and they have been applied in a lot of situations throughout the past decade. So, I mean, I don't think LLMs themselves are a threat. I think historically, I mean, you think back to CrowdStrike 3-4 years ago, what was their value proposition, right? It was that, it's automated threat detection. So I don't need, it's essentially it's in the background in a system, something pops up, and that's based on my experience with other companies and in other threat networks and all that. And then I can detect that and send you an alert, right? That is in a form AI, especially where it's predictive, right? And then that was quite a big departure from how your traditional, antivirus, where you have to actually like scan and all that, right? So that was actually the differentiator for CrowdStrike. They have been using AI type work in throughout, like it's the genesis of the product, right? So that's that. I think where the new push is coming from is, and I mean, nowadays, if you are a CEO and you go on your earnings call and you don't say AI, you should be shot, right? like literally, your call, you need to go AI, AI. Like every 5 words needs to be AI, and then stock price go up. So I think so obviously they have to say something about AI. And I think where they are going with this is two things. One is, with the rise of LLMs and all that, they can help create something, right? They're going to try to use that to help worker productivity and to help their customers' productivity, right? Because then it's not only about threat detection; it's also about suggested actions, putting steps in place and all that to kind of mitigate the threat. And that is something that with the natural language ability of LLMs, so that they can try to do. So that's one. Two is, I think they are trying to do more with the big cloud providers, except Microsoft, so AWS and Google, right? They are going to build more applications on specifically for those layers, for those vendors, and that is meant to be more AI based and all that. So you don't actually even, so let's say you are hosting your data on the public cloud of Amazon, you don't actually have to install a Falcon client on your personal device, right? You can put it on the network, right? And that is the threat detection there. So I think that is where they are trying to expand it's essentially a new product, right? It's a new product suite, rather than doing just endpoint detection. So I think that's where they are trying to use AI. I mean, how much of this is a departure from their actual current business? It's not, right? Like without ChatGPT, without LLMs, they would probably still have done 80% of these things.
Yeah.
But of course now everybody wants to be an AI company, so everybody has to go and say AI, and watch their price go up, or in this case, not fall too much.
Yeah. No, I think that's completely fair. I think for me, it's still, for me, CrowdStrike is something a bit different to this AI ML or Chat GPT. But I've seen a few articles, at least researching for this chat, Anthony, that they have somehow combined it. But I think it's probably the fact that CrowdStrike is leaning away from Azure and leaning away from Microsoft and really looking at the other competitors as well.
Yeah, I mean that's a purely strategic decision, right? Because the main competitor they have is Azure Sentinel,
of course,
right? So why would you want to be on Azure and let Azure kind of steal a lunch? And Microsoft are doing whatever they do best. Like, oh, don't worry, I package it for you, right? You buy Azure,
for you.
I will give you Sentinel at a very, very cheap price. Don't even bother crying CrowdStrike, right? I'll bundle it for you. That's how they killed Slack. That's how they killed a lot of other people. So
I mean, this is the Bill Gates mantra, right? Running from don't know how many years ago already. So.
Yeah, it's just like bundling and packaging, and then after a while they unbundle again. And it's working, And I mean, some people say that Azure Sentinel isn't a good product, but lots of people still use it, right? Just like how lots of people still use Teams, just because it's free or it's cheap. You just buy it all.
Yes. You're talking about yourself here. I know. Yes. I can feel the pain. But coming back down, right? So right now, what's your price to sell to CrowdStrike? 15, 16?
15, 16, about there. So, by 2021 standards, not high. But I think by 2023 standards, kind of expensive.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say, right? 15, 16, you compare to the good old days where everything you touch turns to gold is, I think that one hit 30, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Or like 40 or some nonsense number like that. And people are going cheap, you can buy.
And now for for 2023 and what's impending doom, as we call it, in 2023, 16 is quite high even for tech, even with this rally that we're seeing.
It is. And I mean, I think there's two sides to the story, right? One is it expensive? Sure it is. But two is, is it a good company? I think so. Right? Does it have a big time? Yes. Is it mature? Does it have good management? All that? I think that the answers to all that are pretty much quite unequivocally yes. So you pay up a bit for quality. That's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And the question I have here is then what's the hold, right? Because obviously your timeline, even if it drops or it goes back up, that's fine because it's a good company, it's going to grow. So if you are looking to invest in this or put more money into it, what do you expect the timeline to be?
I mean, honestly, if I had spare cash, I might not be putting money into CrowdStrike. Like, I think it becomes a question of opportunity cost, right? So, it's a great company. They'll probably compound for like the next decade. They are early in their market. They're still expanding. They have great margins and all that. Sure. But, is there no other, at this price, right? How much better do they have to execute to get to where they need to be to justify the valuation, right? Because you want like a high price to sales is only justifiable because you're going to grow our revenue so much that even if the price remains the same or goes a bit up, your price to sales ratios ends up being a lot more normal looking, like 6 or 7, right? So essentially your sales needs to double, to get to that level. And at 30% plus growth rates, that takes 2-3 years. So assuming that it matures to plan, you are, by buying now, you're kind of saying that you are expecting 30% growth rates on revenue for 2-3 years before you get to a decent valuation. And remember, at that time, you are still not making money. It's the same price, So I think you kind of have to say, oh yeah, then it's the expectation it will grow more within the 2-3 years because there's a bigger tailwind. Like that's the base case, right? 30 plus 2-3 years. That's how you get to this price. Yeah, is it going to grow more? Is there going to be more growth in future that can justify the price a bit more? I think then that becomes the judgment call. So going back to the original question, I think it's at least a 2-3 year thing where you can justify this sort of pricing. And even then, I mean, markets are volatile; they go up and down, right? No reason to say why it won't have hit a bump in the road sometime down the line where it becomes a good opportunity.
Fair enough. I do realize my question was a little bit loaded, asking you to look at the Magic 8 Ball.
Yes. It's okay. Predictions are fool's errand, right? So I'll just be the fool and get it wrong.
Yeah.
I mean,
In all fairness, we have been doing predictions here and there, Anthony. Right?
yeah, and they've been good, right?
Every week.
Look
Yeah,
at
exactly.
Nvidia.
So that's why.
Look at Nvidia. I mean, sorry, just to plug the course that we're going to run, right? Look at Nvidia. We have been talking about that for the last 6-9 months, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been comparing it with Intel, don't know how many times, every quarter, I think. And on that front, I think it would be great to talk about Nvidia. Now, we covered it a little bit, but we want to go a bit into the numbers.
Yep. So I'll just go straight to the numbers for Nvidia, right? Because it's kind of old news now. So let's just go through them quickly. I think revenue they beat a bit. That's okay. I think where it really led to that huge gap up was their projection for the next quarter, right? And that was essentially a revision upwards from estimated 7 billion to 11 billion, right? So it was a 60% increase in just the expected revenue for next quarter. And this was supposed to be largely driven by the data center portion, which meant that they are expecting 100% increase in sales in data center compared to Q1, right? So Q1 to Q2, 100% growth, right? Data centers. So I mean, so with that backdrop, right? You kind of go, yeah, maybe 25% up makes a bit of sense. It's going to become their largest contributor revenue. It's a good margin product. They're not discounting to win market share. In fact, it really seems like they are the monopoly and they're the only game in town, at least for most people who want to buy GPUs. I mean, I'm sure Apple has their own GPUs and all that, but they all still buy from Nvidia anyway, right? So that competition might be coming, but there's still a lot of questions around whether other people who are not the mega tech can access the competitive chips. So it seems like for the short term, 1 to 2 years, Nvidia has a bit of a lock on the market, right? And and I think some smart aleck try to push a bit harder and say, oh yeah, second quarter is great. And I mean, I that's a question I had, right? You grew 100% in the second quarter. Obviously, that's not going to continue for the rest of the year. And even if that continues, that's not going to happen for the next year, right? We can't grow 2x quarter on quarter, right? That's crazy. But we still expect second half to be better than first half. So, even if it maintains or there's a slight drop from the second quarter, just based on their committed sales, it seems like there's a very strong pipeline in the second half already. So, I think this is fantastic.
The 100% growth, tell me again, is the fact of their new chips, their new AI focused chips that they focused on.
I mean,
was that right? Or
it's not new. I think we covered it 6-9 months ago. We were talking about the H100 and the A100, where they had kind of new architecture, and we were making a point that this was a new product that pretty much nobody else had and nobody else could compete with, right? And that was just a new
and it's seeing demand now.
And yeah, they are seeing demand now.
Where are these competitors around now in terms of 9 months later? Are there smaller companies running something like this with a better valuation? Maybe even listed companies, bigger companies looking to compete in the space?
If you are a third party that wants to do LLMs, that wants to, that's pretty much a startup, you can't go to you can't really at this stage go to these companies and buy their chips or buy compute. You kind of have to still go to Nvidia. So there isn't really a reseller that competes with them, right? Maybe that's the way to put it. And you kind of see Nvidia kind of preempting the competition, right? And we laughed at this a few months back as well by going their AI as a service. You can rent compute and all that kind of bullshit. So to me, those are moves to preempt the competition, right? Because you can see AWS or Google Cloud or Azure coming out and say, yeah, you know what, we have our data centers, we have tuned our chips to those data centers. We will run your compute for you, and we'll run your LLM models for you, and you just come and be an Azure customer, right? And pay me that amount. Yeah. So you can see that happening, and I think that's where Nvidia wants to kind of chop off or at least compete in that space as well, so that they don't get left behind and be stuck beholden to all these big tech companies.
Yeah, got it. Okay, cool. I guess I'm just giving finding out more information as well for coconuts out there to really see the market as it is, especially for Nvidia. So in your case, then, if there's nothing stopping Nvidia from keeping this going, why not put money in it?
I mean, I'm okay. So, in the short term, meaning 9 months to a year, probably nothing, right? In the longer term, I think there are real risks, right? So one is,
Mm,
you know, even with this AI boom with LLMs, there really isn't a business model for LLM companies yet. How will they monetize and all that? I think that's going to be the issue. And if it's going to be a profitable enough market to afford all this compute, right? Because running all these queries, buying all these chips and all that are really expensive endeavors. So
yes,
I think that
yes.
that's one immediate risk. Two is, sure, Nvidia is still kind of selling to all the mega tech companies and building out their data centers. Um, are those going to ramp up quickly enough to kind of not use Nvidia in a year, in 2 or 3 years, and cut them out of the supply chain? Nobody knows,
Mm,
right? And I think they are secretive enough that I can't make a proper assessment, and I don't think anybody can make a proper assessment of whether
yeah,
it's doable.
yeah, yeah.
Sure, there's some software mode with CUDA and all that for Nvidia, but again, does that really last? If the mega tech companies can just wrap it all up within their wrapper, do you really need that? And I think that's a different question.
Yeah.
Three is,
I mean, would they even want to wrap it within their wrapper? I mean,
yeah,
Microsoft, obviously, Google maybe, but the rest, right? So
yeah. I mean, it's just the mega tech companies, right? That have the ability to do that. And
exactly.
if you're Nvidia, and that's your competition, that is scary competition, right? Because they have lots
True.
of money to try the problem. Three is, we don't know what's going to happen with China. Right, a lot of Nvidia chips, not the
Mm,
leading edge ones. So I think the H100 and the whole Hopper architecture is banned, but they
right.
are still selling quite a bit of chips of the A series to China.
To
we
China.
we don't know whether they will get sanctioned and blocked off because of the geopolitics,
Yeah.
right? They're
Yeah.
still really dependent on TSMC to fabricate the chips, right? And that is
Yeah.
a bit of existential risk for a lot of companies, right? If Taiwan gets invaded, the whole chip supply chain kind of dies. Then what happens there? So
Yeah.
I mean, it's I think I think it's a bit like CrowdStrike, right? The company is well run, management's great, they've executed really well, they have great products, market leading products, and they're still growing. That's all fantastic. But and
A
the
lot of
value,
variables.
then look at the valuation, right? And you go, well, that's expensive, and you want to pay up for expensive companies, that's fine, but there has to be a limit somewhere,
Mm,
right? And
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that is the problem.
No, I think that's a good summary as well. I mean, I honestly believe they're not going to. China's not going to just walk into Taiwan, lah. But prediction, but awesome. Thanks for that. So, how buy?
But
If
I
you
mean,
have spare cash, don't know what to do with it, buy a bit. Awesome. Moving on to our third story. It is indeed Apple.
right.
But I think it's more of a fun topic, really.
Yeah,
Not,
we have been
not too
talking
much
about
on the
them a bit
numbers.
more recently.
Yes.
Yeah. I've kind of got over
Uh,
myself and going, I don't want to talk about Apple. Apple sucks.
Please. But anyway, coming to the third topic. Wow, did they release finally a new product? We've been saying
Yes.
this for how long? How long, Anthony? When was the last time they actually released some product? Do you remember? A new one.
Um, I think last one was the AirPods, maybe, right? Either
Mm.
the AirPods or the watch
Well,
or
AirPods in is a new thing in that there is no wire lah. Because
yeah.
if you were talking about the actual earpods, they've been around for ages.
Yes. Yep.
What are your thoughts on the headset, the mixed reality headset?
What is, I think, quite clear even at this stage is, we look at the last two big launches, the watch or AirPods, to the
AirPods.
extent it counts as a launch. It's not really a whole new, it's a whole new product line, but it's not a paradigm shift in terms of like computing and where you use compute and all of that, right?
Mm.
So this to me feels a bit more like either the MacBook or the iPhone, right? Where they are trying to come up with a new, well, essentially a new platform, where
Yeah.
people will try to use the product. And I think part of their pitch for it is, this is the first Apple product where you're looking not at something but through something. So you still look at people. You don't just bury your head in your phones and talk to the phone. You actually can look at people and talk to them. So yeah, it's interesting in that sense. I mean, I just don't know whether, and I mean it's quite quintessentially Apple, right? It looks like an Apple product. By all accounts, it feels like an Apple product. The color scheme and the sleekness and all that are roughly right. And in terms of the launch strategy, it's also kind of like an Apple product, where the first few iterations aren't really for consumers, right? They are for the diehard fanboys, the early adopters, and especially for the developers, right? Where the developers get to play around with it, get comfortable with it, and come up with use cases for the product. So I mean, Apple has obviously thought of a few use cases like entertainment and all that, but we don't actually know what the use case will be for this until many years down the line, right? It's like when you first got an iPhone, did you think that you would be using it for Grab or Uber?
Yes,
exactly. So I think if this is the same paradigm shift, then we are at the very, very, very early stages.
It is. So effectively, it's build it and they will come, lah.
I mean that's kind of more the meta approach, right? With the Quest and all that, they are trying to do something 3D-ish and in VR, and they'll come. Apple is doing a bit more of a different approach where it's AR/VR, which is also kind of the same as Meta.
Actually, I believe Facebook is also doing that, right? And I saw some similarities between this and, was it the Ray-Ban glasses that Meta is trying to pull out? Where you wear the glasses, and from there you'll be able to see some information that just pops up. Apparently there is like rumor where you put on glasses, for example, and just like you driving from point A to point B, you need Google Maps or whatever. It'll actually going to pop up in the camera or in the specs to tell you to turn left and turn right.
I'm pretty sure the Meta glasses can do that. And I mean, not even the Ray-Ban ones, right? Even the Oculus Quest can do that. You just need to get the right app for it.
Correct. And I think that's a certain use case that I think Apple is trying to build on. For example, I see a use case for this with buying a new furniture in the house. For example, right? Perhaps even, I think some of them said FaceTime, because you can actually like put in and you can actually see them, but you're still doing your day-to-day while you're still talking with people. These are the early case use cases that I see. Is it worth the price? For me, no. For developers, definitely.
No, but I mean, like these are kind of in the least insulting sense of the word, stupid use cases, right? Because I can FaceTime you. I mean, we are recording this, on the camera and all that, and I can do work on the side, and that's why I look to the left and look to the right. I'm doing work, So, and well, obviously everybody can use Google Maps and then drive at the same time. And is it really better that you get a screen overlay in front of you all the time? I think that is a bit of a, I mean, even if it's look through, even if people can see like fake googly eyes to kind of represent your eyes, and they can track your eyes there, is that really the best use case? So I think it's probably one of those cases where we are early in the tech, that there's going to be a lot that needs to be improved on, right? Whether it's the battery life and all that, and maybe this is more like the iPod than the iPhone, right? In the sense that it's a paradigm shift. It's something different. Again, they are late to market, and other people have been in front, but that's Apple, right? That's taken for granted. And then as the technology improves and as things get better, 3 to 5 years down the line, you actually see the product that they want to sell, right? So I mean, if I had to guess, I would say this is, at this iteration, it's maybe more like the iPod than the iPhone, right? I mean, obviously they want to make it a compute platform and all that, but that will take time.
It will. And I think you're putting too much emphasis on this being an iPod because I don't think it's the same. I think when Steve Jobs revealed the iPod, that was honestly paradigm shifting.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody had the same effect when they revealed this.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean,
right,
look,
nowhere close.
If you look at some of the Apple websites, they are just all over this, right? And sorry, Apple launched a product that is not ready for sale to next year. We are still in June.
Yes.
We're not in September.
Yes, I haven't even brought that up. Yeah, exactly. It's next year. No one could try it, right?
Some journalists got like 30 minutes with it. I've read a few articles. Quite interesting, right? But there's a lot of known problems with the Meta headset. Right, things like dizziness if you use for too long, it feels very uncomfortable on the head, all of that, right? Whether those are really resolved with the Apple headset, I think nobody has got a chance to try long enough to know. So we'll see. I mean, I just think this is really interesting. Even if it's the next platform, or rather, even if mixed reality or what they want to call spatial computing is the next platform, post the smartphone. I mean, I don't think it's by any means guaranteed that one, Apple will win, and two, even if Apple wins, like with the smartphone market, that Meta will lose, right? So it's neither here nor there.
It's big enough. I guess the question here is, we talked about a couple of these use cases, and it's very much a non-event again because these things have been replaced in our day-to-day lives. And is it really necessary, right?
Yeah.
But Apple, in essence, is a B2C company.
Yes.
And if we look at this as B2B, or like for example, the best use case, honestly, I can see is you buying a house or buying furniture, right? And the people that would have it would be the people in the store going, hey, you know what? Here, take a look at it, right? But Apple's a B2C company. They're not going to be a B2B company overnight or over one product. And I really think for me is how are they going to make this a large scale where everybody has one in their home? I really have a question on that.
Or every person
are they
has
going to
one,
replace the
right?
iPhone?
Yeah.
Or
it might replace like the PlayStation, maybe, or your TV, right? Because you still kind of need to be somewhere within the confines. And I think that's why it's a bit too early to say what it is, right? If it really iterates to be small enough, like the Google Glass, but with the current functionality, then you can go, okay, fine, this is a portable product. It replaces the iPhone, But if it never ever gets to that form factor, or you need to lug around a battery, and all that, then maybe it really is more replacement for TV, right? It's instead of watching EPL on StarHub, you watch it, you stream it through your Apple, what do they call it? Vision something, right? Vision Pro, and it's as if you are at Old Trafford on the halfway line in the stands, right? and I mean that is the coolest use case to me. You get that effect.
I mean, or you're playing real football, and the AI or the computer in the Vision Pro is telling you where to run based on where the ball is. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
that would be pretty cool.
or you just watch the entire match from Ronaldo's vantage point.
Big one on that, maybe not Ronaldo, but F1. Given that a lot of people are into F1 nowadays, that actually is a very, very good use case.
Bro, that one confirm dizzy, right? you watch the 2D one, sometimes you go a bit like, oh, you watch it in 3D, confirm dizzy.
Absolutely. But I'm happy that they moved and tried something in this mixed reality headset. They are late to the game, but they usually are late and they try to do it well.
Yep.
Let's see. I don't think this is a 12-month thing. I think we're gonna have to revisit this somewhere in 24 months.
Yeah.
But I do want to state one thing, right? They have launched something where it was next year. I don't know if you remember this. You won't. But on Coconuts, I don't know if you remember that. They launched a wireless charging pad, and they launched it in WWDC or something like this for the next year that until today has not shown up, and they have removed it from their website. We've also seen delays on products, these sort of products being
why everybody has wireless charging now. Why doesn't Apple have one?
No, it's a 3. So it was effectively a one piece, and you put any Apple device on it, whether it be the AirPods, whether it be the phone, whether it be the watch.
Yeah.
It will just charge. Yeah, but it found out that you needed the coils. There was a lot of issues with it because you need to be at a certain spot for it to charge, and I think that's the part that Apple was unhappy about.
Interesting.
Well, I don't know. I don't know why it got pulled out, but yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, Coconuts, that comes to the end. Hopefully, it was another entertaining session, and we'd love to find out what you think of the mixed reality headset or the Vision Pro.
Or whether you buy Nvidia.
Clearly wants to buy one. Or whether, yes.
I will buy one with Nvidia
CrowdStrike.
If it launches next year.
Yeah, technically you can really, no problem.
No problem. I've been spending money like water last few months because my portfolio value looks very nice now.
Wow. Nice. Awesome. Thanks again, Coconuts. We'll see you next week.
All right.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode with me, Rakesh, and trust that you learned something today. If you enjoyed the session and want to be part of the banter, join our community Telegram group or follow us on social media. We also have a weekly newsletter to get a digest of the news we covered. To sign up, please click the description below. As always, we love your feedback, so share that with us at hello@thefinancialcoconut.com. Thanks, and stay safe.